Hi, everybody. Jean Humbrecht of Humbrecht Law, criminal and traffic defense attorney in Manassas, Virginia. Welcome to my next edition of How to Start a Successful Business, my local business spotlight today. I have a very special guest, Mary Sue Dahill of Work Smarter Digital. Mary Sue is going to be talking to us about digital marketing tools new businesses need to grow their business. And I think this is actually I say this about all of them, but all of these topics that we're talking about are really important because it's things that a lot of businesses might think that they need, but may not, may think, oh, I don't need to invest in that right now. But that might not necessarily be true. And it's good to know about all these things when starting a business. So Mary Sue Dahill believes if you think smart, use the right tools, and go after your goals, you can achieve anything. And I agree. Her clients call her an overwhelmed detective. Oh, that's it, Mary Sue, I have to hire you. Work smarter coach and automation expert for a reason. She's a master of creating order out of chaos and has not met a hot mess that she cannot handle. And Jean. Mary Sue has over 20 years of technology management experience. She's passionate about empowering entrepreneurs to efficiently build and scale their business so they can make a bigger impact on the world. Her company Her company offers the Work Smarter CRM, which is an all-in-one solution that reduces complexity, streamlines systems, and scales your impact. So Mary Sue, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell everybody watching, anything about yourself, your business, and what CRM actually means, because a lot of people might not know.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me, Jean. I do catch snippets of your other segments, and I love them. So, when Jean asked me about what digital tools do you need to start a business, I was totally in because being a tech person, when I started my business, I was really surprised by how much work there was that wasn't about working with clients and making money. It was all behind the scenes. And I hate doing routine things. I know people look at me and they think, well, you're a systems person, so you must be great with checklists and everything. And not true. I like to automate it so I don't have to do it. So when I started my business, I started looking at tools that would help me do some of that work much more easily. And what I want to share today is just some of those tools that are maybe free, as well as what you should invest in versus not invest in, because there are so many options out there that it is overwhelming to figure out what to spend money on or what to use.
Yeah, it really is overwhelming. I mean, just for law firms, I mean, you don't have to use, so I use a case management system, but there are dozens, hundreds, so many out there. And it doesn't even have to necessarily be one for law firms, but I was focusing on those. And I just spent so much time trying to figure out what the best one is. And so it can be kind of overwhelming. Now,
Yes.
when I first started my business, I throw myself in here a lot, like as an example of maybe what not to do. I didn't think that I needed a case management system in the beginning because, I just didn't have as many clients, obviously, as I do now. But then I got to the point that I was so busy that I got overwhelmed and, trying to update everything. And what do I do? And what system do I use? And, what do I do for this? I mean, there are so many things. I mean, there's for the people. So this is geared towards, new businesses and they might not know what all the different options are. I mean, there's options for like organizing your clients. There's options for, sending email distribution things if that's one of the things that you do for your business. So can you tell everybody how these different systems might be beneficial, like what different systems can do to help kind of streamline and organize?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to show a screen, my screen for a second, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Okay. So can you see this? Here we go. Yeah. Do you see this business technology ecosystem?
Yep.
So I use this as just like, what do you need as a business owner to manage your business? Now it is a little different depending on what your industry is. So this is best if you're some sort of a service provider business. And when I tell new businesses what they should be investing in first, it is going to be the domain. So this is not a website, it's a domain. So buying your URL, and then your business tools, which is, I don't know if you can see my, yeah, you can see my cursor, this little on the bottom here. So domain and business tools, because you do want to have an email that says Mary Sue at worksmarterdigital.com versus Mary Sue 1235 at gmail.com. It just looks more professional, and it separates your personal from your business, which I think will become important for you. I have worked with plenty of clients who did not do that. And then once they're in this for a few years, it becomes very difficult to separate their personal communications and calendar from their business work. So those are the two first investments I would make. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Jean. Did you do that initially?
Oh, one of the first things I did was my my domain name. So when looking at all the different things that I had to do, incorporating was, number one. Well, for me, that was one of the first things I had to do. But before I incorporated, I needed to have a business name. And I thought, well, how's this going to look on the website, the domain? So yeah, that was one of the first thing I did, get the domain name.
Yes. Well, and one thing that I tell people with the domain, when you buy it from GoDaddy or whatever hosting you buy it from, they're going to offer you a email bundle and all that. You really do not need to do that. And if you do that, make sure you're either purchasing I think it's called Google Workspace or Microsoft Office 365 Business Edition. Do not waste your money on the $1 a month email providers. Those don't always integrate with any other tools. And they may not even come with a calendar system. So purchasing Microsoft Office Business or Google Workspace is less than $80 a month. Or sorry, not a month, a year. So it's really not a huge investment, and it will pay off over time for sure. So those are the first two things that, to me, people should invest in. The website is helpful, but I think until you really understand what your business is, I would hold off on the website because that can be a big expense if you're not building it yourself. And then the third thing I would invest in is this invoicing and what I have payments, because hey, we all need to get paid, and there are a ton of different tools to do this. The one that I recommend is a free software product. It's called Wave. It's a financial software. It's similar to QuickBooks, but unlike many of these other accounting type software products, it has you don't pay for the software. It has accounting, so you can keep track of your expenses and your payments and all that for when you're doing your taxes. You can do invoices. You could do one-off invoices. You could do recurring invoices. You can keep your kind of customer list, very simple one in there. The only time you pay is when you are sending an invoice and they're paying you using either a credit card or ACH. And they're not charging you any additional fee on top of what every other solution will charge you. So I'm sure, Jean, you have, being a lawyer, maybe you get paid more by a check. I don't know what your model is.
I probably get paid more by check than some other businesses, in this day, 2021. But I do mostly credit cards. But I do probably get more checks than other businesses do. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you use for your payment processor?
So I use a company called LawPay, and yeah, this is actually one of the things I wanted to talk about because I don't know if some of these systems can do everything. But for me specifically, I chose to use that because the state bar recommends that you use them, and it's specifically for lawyers. So that's why I use that.
Yeah. Some of these niche industries, you do need to be using the software for that niche. I haven't actually worked with any lawyers, so I don't know any of the kind of constraints there. But if you're not, lawyer, medical provider is another one that has, or something that is considered HIPAA, has to be HIPAA compliant, all that, has other regulations. Realtors will use a lot of niche products, but I don't know that they necessarily have to. But yeah, this particular one, if you're considering using QuickBooks, which is a significant amount every month, and it really does not do as much as Wave for doing invoices, it's a great free alternative to get started. Like, that's where I started, and until I got an accountant or a bookkeeper helping me regularly who was on QuickBooks, I didn't make the move to QuickBooks. So those are kind of the three things I would start with. And once you actually are making appointments with people regularly, you will want to invest in an online appointment scheduler. Do you use one of those, Jean?
I use Calendly, and I actually recently started, but I love it.
Yes. I mean, it's like it transforms your life. You're like, how did I schedule appointments before without this tool?
I know, because you'd send out an email to whoever asking if, or a phone call, are you free at this time, or send a text, and then you get something else scheduled during that time because it's the only time you have open, and then the other person responds, but then you're not available anymore. So you got this back and forth email thread trying to, yeah, and sometimes one person, it took like 6 months to schedule something because of this back and forth.
Exactly. So it really, having an online appointment scheduler, if scheduling appointments is taking a ton of time, this is a worthwhile investment. Most of these will allow you to start on the free level where you will have like one appointment type, so maybe a 30-minute appointment. But the investment to invest in it is, depending on the tool, is between like $8 and $15 a month. But it's well worth it. It will streamline getting appointments scheduled, which I do think will help with your sales. If you're not having to chase someone down to schedule an appointment and they can just do it, it can make it much faster. So domain, business tools, invoice payment, online appointment scheduler. And then once you're really, if you're networking a lot, if you are trying to grow your mailing list, which is really at the point when you have defined your business, you are getting regular clients, and now you need to expand your kind of audience, which you're doing through these virtual events that you do, which is so genius. But we all should also be building our mailing list, because Facebook has algorithms. Any social media has algorithms. People may not be seeing what you're posting on social media because they have no control over it, nor do you. So the one thing that you do have control over is being able to send out emails however regularly you want. And so a mailing list is really important. And for us little businesses, that is the most valuable asset that we have as a business, is our mailing list. So I know this one lady who was talking about selling her organizing business, and she was like, we were talking about what systems she needed, and she was like, it doesn't matter, because all I'm really selling them is my mailing list. So it's important to start thinking about that early. So you can start doing this just with a spreadsheet. Make sure you have first name, last name, email. And once you start using a tool, that's when you really need to have, or when you're starting to have like a lead magnet, or people opting into a newsletter, that's when you need a tool to actually capture and manage all of those lists. So do you have one of those, Jean?
I mean, not specifically for that, because I personally don't do a lot of emailing.
Yep.
Not mass email. I don't do newsletters and that type of a thing.
Yeah, and it may not make sense for your industry either. So, but I was curious because you do these. I think being visible and someone seeing you when they're in need is really probably the most critical. It's not like you're nurturing them into
Right.
a business arrangement. But for like my business, I do offer the Work Smarter CRM, which encompasses pretty much all of these tools. So I do need to nurture people because when I first meet them, they may not be ready to jump into an all-in-one type of tool. So staying kind of top of mind when they get to that point where they have all these different tools and it's now just chaos because they don't know how to manage all of them. That's when they're ready to jump into my tool. So keeping, sending communications out regularly does help me. And so I see an email marketing tool, and I'm going to lump in the CRM here a little bit, is useful when you want to grow your list using some sort of a lead magnet, like a book, which I know Jean has, or some sort of a PDF download where you're providing great information and kind of you're exchanging the email address for that information. And what are some other, so like if you're hosting a summit, that's something that my friend Jennifer and I do. So we host virtual online summits, and having a larger mailing list helps us bring in new people and keep that alive and thriving. So we need a way of being able to manage who has opted in to receive information from us, and so that we can, when we're sending out communications, we're doing it legally. So there are a lot of tools available in the email marketing space that start off free. Obviously, MailChimp, not my favorite. I find MailChimp really clunky. Sendinblue is another one that I like because it does have a lot more automation even at the free level. And then once you start getting to the point where you want to pay, MailChimp also charges, I think their entry level is like $14 a month. ActiveCampaign is my favorite outside of my own tool. That I think you can start at like $9 a month. ActiveCampaign has a great feature set even at the $9 a month. So MailChimp on the free level really doesn't allow you to do any automation outside of if someone, subscribes to your mailing list with one responding email. So if you're looking to streamline your systems, you're going to want to invest in like an ActiveCampaign at their lowest level at a minimum. So since you said that you use a a case file management tool, what are you using it for? I'm going to stop sharing because I've basically gone over everything here.
So I use it for a few things. I don't do billable hours. I do have an hourly rate, but I usually do flat fees for cases. So the invoicing feature to me is not as important as it is for some people and lawyers who bill by the hour. So I don't really use the invoicing feature of it, but it has that. So the calendar syncs with Google. So in a client matter, that's what the system calls a client folder, basically my client folder. All the information, the important information about the case. I wish there would be a few more fields that I could add things that I wanted to, but the most important ones are in there, like the next court date. And the reason why that's important is because there's also a document generation feature. So if you update something in the client matter, and I go to send a letter to a client, I basically have to just click, change one thing, and boom, like everything's updated. The address, the next court date, all that stuff. So it's the calendar, it's mainly the document generation. Once I figured out how to use that, that has saved me. It took me 2 weeks to figure it out and do all the templates, but it has saved me so much time. So the calendar, the document generation, and then also there's an app so that if I'm in court and a prosecutor asks me about something, I can pull up the app because I can't remember every
all your clients, yeah.
And it all those things. And the calendar syncing with Google. which is really important for me.
So I'm assuming it's also pulling in then when you have an appointment with one of your clients and the email matches, it's pulling in when those meetings happened, even just you. Is it?
No, so I manually put in a meeting. I don't have anything connected with my email, but it does have the capability to do that though.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So what you're talking about, even though it's very specific to a lawyer, is a CRM. So a CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. And it can be as detailed as what Jean uses, or you can have a tool that is a little bit more generic and you can customize it to your business. But it is about keeping track of what's going on with that relationship and your business. And so you can put all of your notes in one place. You can put all the contact information in one place. With my tool, it will actually keep track of all your meetings that you're also having with that person more, because it's connected to your calendar. It will just suck in that information. So it's really nice. And it can keep track of communications back and forth with that person, depending on the tool. So like some tools are 100% integrated with your email. And so when you're emailing that person, it will show all of those conversations. So instead of having to search in multiple places for contact information, what did we last talk about? When did we last meet? You can go to one place and quickly and easily find that information. So that is what a CRM is, and it can be a really powerful tool. I just, one of my clients, I call her a healer. She helps families, specifically moms, go from that feeling of chaos to calm through mindfulness techniques. And we set up her kind of contact management or client management area where we had specific fields in there and a template for how she's taking her notes, her session notes, so she can easily send those to her client. And she was ecstatic because she was like, you don't understand how much time this was taking me to write my notes down on a notebook and then transfer them to a document and then send them out. She was like, it was very time consuming. So that's what a CRM can really do for you. You have any other questions, Jean, or things that people have come up with that maybe I can answer questions?
I wanted to ask about the integrating, because you mentioned earlier that, these different tools that you can use before you move on to a full-fledged, CRM that encompasses everything. If you use some of these other programs and then you get to the point where you want it all combined into one CRM, is it possible to do that, or do you have to kind of input everything from scratch?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
And the reason why I ask that is because, businesses might just think, okay, if I'm going to have to move everything over again, and this is going to be a huge pain, then I should maybe start with the CRM. So that's why I asked that.
Yes. Yes. So you can move from your tool to another tool. So most digital solutions have a way of exporting content and you can import it into the new one. I mean, that people move tools all the time. So they do actually make it pretty easy to move. The clients that I've had that already have systems set up, most of them aren't really using them all that much. So it's really very simple. We take out all their contacts, we upload them into my system. It's very simple. Where it gets a little bit more complicated is if you I'm just going to use your case management as an example, because you've obviously taken the time to build out your templates and your workflows that work for you. If you were moving into a new system, it would take you time to recreate and possibly rethink how you have it set up, because there may not be exactly the same ways of working. So that's where it takes a little bit more time to reevaluate with this new tool. But hopefully the new tool has features and functions that you don't have in the other one, so you're motivated to figure it out. with my clients, I walk through this process with them. We evaluate all the tools they have been using and talk through how we're actually moving and what kind of workflows we need to rebuild. So I go through that process with them. And, like, just using you as an example, there are a lot of clients that will have a tool that they have to stick with. Like, I've worked with a tutoring client that has a tutoring solution that works for her tutors to work with their students. So she's not leaving that, but she needed to add on, an email marketing and CRM component for sales management. So we can integrate those two things using, usually it's Zapier, which again, you can have as a free integrator, but it helps different tools talk to one another. So, and I would assume that your case management is similar, where you probably aren't going to necessarily change your case management, but you may add other tools on to help you manage your business outside of the actual cases. So there are a lot of tools, at Zapier, there's If This Then That is another integrator. There's a lot of integrators that help them talk to each other.
Now, when you say help them talk to each other, like what exactly do you mean?
Well, now we're getting into the more techie talk. So, essentially,
I didn't think it was techie. Like,
well, so Zapier is an example. It is actually an API, and I'm totally blanking on what that means, but it's application protocol or integration, something like that. So it's basically saying, this is how we add a new contact. So the other tool just has to create a connection to that. So it's more like a handshake, really. So Zapier just has tons of these APIs for all of these different kind of functions that are usually how two tools need to interact. And usually it's like adding a new contact, removing a contact, changing data on a contact, moving a contact through some sort of a workflow. So I don't know if that helped. I think of it as like a telephone operator, the old style ones where you would call the operator and the operator would connect you with that other phone. That's kind of what Zapier is. It's the operator to make those connections.
Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit more about Clio, just because I want everybody to understand, because when I first started, I thought, I don't need all this stuff. But so what it has is, first I have to put in a contact. So whether that's a client, whether that's, basically anybody that's connected to a case whose information I need in there connected to that case in some way, police officer, family member, whatever. So put in the name, all the information I have for the person. And then after that, I create the matter. So when I go into the matter, it's whichever the client's name was. And then there are related contacts, like, for example, the police officer in the case. And that's something that I just need to know, because it's always when you're doing something in a case, who's the officer, who's the officer, who's the officer. Or if it's a family member that I need to get in touch with for some reason, so when I go to the client matter, there's related contacts, phone number, everything is there. Documents that I've generated for the case are in that file too. And I update the next court date in the client matter. And I wish that it would automatically update in the calendar, but it doesn't, or at least I have not figured out how to do that. But either way, it only takes me like a few seconds to update the new court date there and in the calendar. And then that calendar is already connected to Google. So that's why I use it. Like I said, mostly the document generation feature.
Yeah.
Because if I update everything as I go, like a new address, the next court date, whatever it is, it goes in there. And then sometimes I don't have to change anything. Sometimes it's just a little thing. So when I'm talking about my case management system, it helps me stay organized, and that's not the only place I have stuff saved. Obviously, I have stuff on my computer and everything, but I like having a backup. That's my main system, but I also have stuff on my computer. So if something were to happen to one of them, which wouldn't happen because the other one's cloud-based, I feel better knowing that everything is saved somewhere. And I can access it on the go in court. And I'm in court almost every day. So that's another thing that's really important to me, to be able to access things on the app.
On the go, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and do you have a way of backing up your computer?
I mean, well, I back it up on my external hard drive.
Yes. Okay, so you do.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I am not an expert on setting this up, but that's kind of a basic thing that you should have. And, I have my laptop on my desk. I actually have it on top of like a book because you're going to spill something on your desk and you don't want it to ruin your laptop. That is the number one way laptops get ruined, is because you're spilling a drink on it. And if you're not backing it up, you may destroy all of your content and not have a way of getting to it, or it will take weeks for and expense to ask someone to figure out how to get your data off of your hard drive. So if you're not using a cloud storage system like Google Drive or OneDrive, you should have some sort of an external hard drive, or there are also cloud-based backup systems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, World Backup Day is April 1st because you don't want to be a fool.
Oh, that's cute.
Which I love that day. Yeah, April Fools.
I don't believe anything I hear on April 1st, though. But.
Maybe it's actually March 31st, so that's the day before you're a fool. Yes. And, I didn't talk about social media management stuff. Do you have any, do you do that? I mean, you seem to post a lot, Jean, but maybe not.
Oh God, Mary,
for your business.
I don't. And when you mentioned managing other stuff, I just thought to myself, nope, haven't. I mean, aside from what I can access on Facebook and YouTube, the date and timestamps when I did something, nope. I don't have a way. I don't have a way to manage my contacts or my professional contacts, colleagues, networking type things. And because, and I think it's because things have changed so much in the past, 10 months. Before it was you get a business card and then, then it took time to like update that and like send the email and all that stuff. And then there's etiquette surrounding that. But now you meet so many people online, and I've even met people like virtually, like through Facebook, that I have not actually talked to, in posting in these different groups and everything. And I've even made notes to myself, contact, so-and-so. And then I don't remember who so-and-so is. And then like trying to scroll back and find whatever post it was the person responded to. Mary Sue, when you said social media, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much that I did that like, I don't know how to access. And now I'm getting overwhelmed again. You need to help me because that's what you do. So to answer your question, no, I don't.
Well, what you're kind of talking about is more the management of just contacts, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but like, what else were you referring to though?
So like, if you're planning on posting to different social media channels, some intentional like business content, like even this, I mean, StreamYard can manage it for you, where it can post to like LinkedIn, maybe not LinkedIn, but Facebook, to your YouTube channel. But if you're posting regularly to social media as part of your marketing, then you will want to invest in a social media management tool, because what you can do is upload your posts that you're doing, no matter if it's sharing an article or sharing your own blog post, sharing a quote, because I am not naturally going to be posting on social media intentionally. I kind of do it very randomly. Mm-hmm. So I early on started using a tool, and I started with Hootsuite, which does have a free level. I think a lot of them have a free level. So Hootsuite, I think you can post 30 posts or schedule 30 posts. And I moved to what is called Meet Edgar, because I like the way that it, does it. I just create categories and then schedule those categories, and I upload content to each of those categories, and it just cycles through. So that is I love it because I am posting on social media and people see me and they will reference it, but I'm not spending that much time doing it. It allows me to batch my content. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, so I've heard there's one called Later.
Yes, Later's another one that has a free level. It's great.
I think that's more for Instagram.
Yeah, that one is like, I think it's Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. It does not do LinkedIn. So it's not my preference because LinkedIn is something that I want to be focusing on this year. Yeah, but Hootsuite will.
Yeah, I probably need to talk to you like offline more about that, because I've looked at a couple of these different programs and had trouble figuring it out, because a lot of what I post is information about upcoming events, like my Facebook post talking about this event, or sometimes my blog posts or articles that I've written. Sometimes, hey, it's National Love Your Lawyer Day, which is actually a thing. It was in November. And yeah, but I don't really do a lot of pictures. So it seems to me that some of these social media management tools at least look to me like it's more for pictures and visual than, like links. I want to link to things and link to videos, and I haven't really found something that does a lot of that.
Well, I think, yes, if you can, all of them, like if you're posting to Facebook, you can post without a picture.
Right.
But yeah, if you're posting to Instagram, they will force you to have a picture because you can't post otherwise. I think they do. All of the ones I've seen will allow you to just do text, but it's just making sure you're posting the right content. They will enforce the rules of the platform, I guess is what I'm. So like if you have one post where you're posting a link to your blog, you would have to schedule your Instagram post separate, from like Facebook and LinkedIn. So,
and to me, that kind of seemed like a waste of time. It's like, why am I going to bother when I can only do, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, but I still have to go back and do this other social media platform.
Yeah. Well, and that's partially why I like Meet Edgar, because it's focused on reusing content, not having every single post you're doing be unique every time. So, but if you're writing a blog, I think you should be doing some sort of email marketing. Maybe not a lot, but to all those people that you're meeting, through networking, because I know you do a lot of networking or online, even a quarterly newsletter to say, here's what I'm, great thoughts I have on my blog this quarter.
I'll add that.
I know there's a lot to do, but
yeah. And then also, figuring out what the best thing is for your particular business. And then I think that's probably like the first question they need to answer when deciding on a CRM, because that might be, email marketing might be really good for one particular type of business or even one particular person. I like Facebook. So I just do more on Facebook. And people, I guess, tend to stick with what they like. But I guess if you're going to be spending time on it, you might as well do what you like. But it's also about what's going to be beneficial for you and your business. And if email is going to be beneficial. So is there any particular industry that you think that would be more beneficial for the email marketing campaign, or does it just depend?
Well, I think this is a statistic. They say average 51% of people make buying decisions from email. So your best marketing investment is email marketing. Now, I haven't looked at that by industry, but I know if you're doing a service-based business where you're meeting people, and again, this may not focus on what you do, Jean, because it's like I have an issue and then I need a lawyer, but it may relate. There is this statistic as well. It is like a iceberg. So 3% of people that you meet are going to need your service right now and they want to buy it. 7%, then they want your service. They're not necessarily actively looking, but they would buy. So there's like 10% of people that you meet are potential buyers right now. The other 90%, they need some nurturing. So that's why email marketing works and social media works. But email marketing has a much higher effectiveness than social media because you are pushing your content to people that have requested to hear from you. So that's why it works. Who it works for, I think coaches need to be doing that, any kind of coach. I think education type businesses definitely need to be doing that because people have multiple kids. I still think because, if I meet somebody that ends up needing a lawyer, I would think of you and have contact information ready at hand. I could forward them, an email. So, and I might hopefully never need you, but if I do in a couple of years and I'm, not following you on Facebook or something like that, I had an email from you, it would make me think I need to call Jean first. So I guess it applies to you because the same things, not everyone needs a lawyer at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. The odds of, if I'm talking to a group of people, the odds that somebody in there needs a lawyer, it happens, but
Yeah.
slim.
But I've seen a lot of clients that will have like a really strong referral business and they don't really invest in their marketing, but once, so I look at it as you should have multiple channels. They don't all have to be what you're spending a ton of time on, but we learned with COVID that if your main way of meeting your clients was going out in-person networking, well, you had a big impact. So having another avenue of connecting with people is always a good thing to invest in.
Well, I will ask you a question about that, I guess, to play devil's advocate, because everything so much has changed to being virtual and online. Are people being bombarded with emails now? Should a company start an email marketing campaign now when they haven't before? Because inboxes are just being flooded with information, I would assume.
Yeah, that's true. So yes, everyone is now emailing. I think it's still, if you have really relevant, valuable content that you're sharing, and the person has opted to receive information from you, it's still a good idea. And it's the way you do it, that is going to differentiate you. Like I don't know if you saw this, I did a Facebook Live with Jennifer and I was like, I bought this book and this online course, and within a month I got over 100 emails from this guy. I was like, what the heck? I don't want like that's annoying. So I think if you're being thoughtful and intentional with the content you're sharing, it's always good. And focus on more education, informational versus always promoting something. I think that's what people don't like, is the always promoting. So my rule of thumb is like 80-20. 80% of your content should be educational and informational. And the other 20% is maybe when you're doing a sale or a new program or something like that, where you're purposely selling.
Well, when you say purposely selling, what is an example of that? Like, could something be thoughtful and educational that's still like clearly from your business, like a blog post that I write? Would that be viewed as selling, or would that be educational?
That's educational. Okay. I think that's educational. So like Black Friday sales, that's obviously selling. Or if you're launching a new program, you may be providing educational content in your emails, but you're obviously saying like, sign up for my program, buy my book. Like that's really prominent. That's when you're selling.
Okay. Well, I guess it's a good thing that I haven't really been promoting the book as much as I thought I should have. Buy my book. It's on Amazon. And see, there we go. But at least 20% of the conversation today was about promoting me, and 80% was about education, right?
Yeah. Well, it was fun when I saw in a Facebook group, somebody was saying, my kid got into a car accident or something, and they were concerned about their, how it would impact their driver's license points and all that. I was like, I know someone and she wrote the book on it.
Literally.
So, yeah, I think I covered, the most of the tools that a business would need when they're starting up. Not sure I answered like which ones you should have when, but hopefully some insights.
Well, I actually had a note to myself about another question. QuickBooks. A lot of people use QuickBooks, but that only manages the financial things, right?
Well, QuickBooks, you can do invoice. Yeah, QuickBooks is an accounting feature. So its main focus is taxes and that kind of thing, but it does do invoices for sure. You can keep your client list in there, but I don't think you can manage the actual relationship.
Right. So, but if somebody's using QuickBooks, can they take all of that information over to another case management system, or is that something that they should still continue to use separately?
I would say you'd probably use that separately.
And does it integrate with any case management system at all? Or I'm sorry, I keep saying that. CRM, does it integrate with any CRM?
Yeah. QuickBooks integrates with a lot of things because it's been around a long time.
Okay.
What I find, since I have lots of clients that use QuickBooks, if they have a bookkeeper, the bookkeeper does not really want the CRM sending anything to QuickBooks because they're not the ones managing how the data goes in and making it easy for them to keep the data clean. Mm-hmm. So they do integrate, but it's probably going to be dependent on who's managing your books on if you choose to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but usually what you can do is like set up a new client. You may not send an invoice automated, but you can set the new client up so at least the bookkeeper has that kind of basic information.
Okay. So it's more of a headache for the bookkeeper to deal with QuickBooks and something else.
Yeah.
And if you just leave the financial tax stuff in QuickBooks, it's better for them.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, have you seen people use QuickBooks and another CRM?
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Oh. I mean, does doing that still save them time? Because some people might think that if you're using QuickBooks and something else, it's kind of time consuming. So you should just combine it all together. I don't know the answer to that. I'm just.
Yeah, there are tools that have like an accounting feature in it, and they're a CRM, email marketing, all-in-one tool, like Dubsado comes to mind, but their accounting feature is kind of lame. It's all manual, so I would never use it. You would have to enter all of your expenses by hand. Who wants to do that? So no, it is not duplicative because you're managing your taxes and your financial reporting is a pretty significant effort. If you are paying someone to do that, usually it's totally separate. If you are doing it all yourself, then I would still probably use something simpler. QuickBooks is really complex, and most tools don't include the accounting feature because it is pretty unique and regulated, really.
Okay.
They connect to your bank, so I'm not, on the back end side, I don't even know if you have to have certain things set up so that you can do that.
I just thought I don't use QuickBooks, and I just thought to myself, man, I probably should be doing that. But then I thought, oh, it's January, so this would be a good time to start if I decide that I'm going to do. Every time I do one of these lives, I think, man, I wish I did this, or I should have done that, or I forgot about this. And that's why I'm doing it, to try to help people so they don't sit here. Because what's going to happen is as soon as we get off here, I'm going to get to my work, and I made all these notes of things that I'm going to do. And then it's never going to happen. And it's going to be on this endless to-do list. And I don't even know where to start because Mary Sue says that how was it described? You
overwhelm detective, I think.
I gotta look that up because when I read that description, I'm like,
well, how are you doing your taxes? Are you just collecting all of your receipts and everything and handing them over to an accountant, or are you doing it?
I do my own taxes, and I do save receipts, but I also all checks that I have to write, which is usually just for rent, that comes from my business account. Or if I pay for something that's business related, it's either on my credit card, which I pay and there's a record of it, or it's on my debit card. So I can go to either my credit card or my debit card and then see what charges there were. So that's an easy way for me to keep track of it. I mean, I know it does take time to go through all that stuff, but I do have those records and I do keep paper receipts. But honestly, at the end of the year, it's just easier for me to go back and look at the bank statements and the credit card statements.
Right. Well, I'm going to suggest, Jean, that maybe you need to look at some assistance. It is hard to be doing everything, either a bookkeeper or an accountant. Probably, you're not doing a lot of transactions, so I don't know that you really need a QuickBooks yet. If you're not doing a lot of expense transactions or small payment transactions.
Yeah, it's not like I'm doing 50 transactions a day. that's not, yeah. I don't sell products. I guess it's different with services because it's products.
Yeah.
We obviously do a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelm detective. You are right. She's a master of creating order out of chaos and has not met a hot mess that she cannot handle.
I will say the financial piece is not something I do. That was like the first thing that I outsourced, and it's been worth it, totally worth it. So I would maybe look at that, because it is, if you're feeling overwhelmed just managing your casework, it may be like a nice gift to yourself.
Frankly, it's more managing the other aspects of the business, because I like my case management. It works for me, so
Mhm.
I feel organized with that. Now maybe there is a better system out there for me. I don't know, but looking at the different systems, that's the one that I chose. And even when I chose it, I was looking at which systems can more easily export to another one, because there was all sorts of information online. Well, this particular system, it's a huge pain, or other lawyers or other people have told me I started with X system and then I went to Y and it was a huge pain. And then other people said, oh yeah, I had A and I went to B and it was great. It was super easy. Just clicked a few buttons. So I went with the one that that I had heard that if I ever decided to change, it wasn't too difficult to move everything over, because God, I don't even know how many hundreds of files in there, but if I were to lose those and transferring to another system, I couldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, actually, my system integrates with Clio. I don't know how deep of an integration it is. I've never set it up, but I just look at that, and that's the only legal system I know of. So,
well, there are a lot.
Yeah,
there are a lot.
The tool that it's not a tool, it's a website I use when I'm looking at different tool options. It's G as in George, the number 2.com. G2. It's actually, the business name is G2 Crowd. And what it is it's a software review site where users have actually given the reviews. And I mean, they make a big deal about they're not paying for the reviews and that they verify that the person is an actual user. So what I love is if you were to go there and put Clio in, you could then see what category it is in. And then you can see all of the other things in that category. And it will actually, it puts it into like a Foursquare to rank it with all of the other ones that have reviews. So I like to look at what's in the leader quadrant as far as reviews. So any tool that you're thinking of buying, I would start there so you can see what else is available. Reading the reviews is also helpful. They're very simple. It's kind of like, what do you like? What do you dislike? What recommendations would you make to the business? So you can get some interesting insights based on what other people have said.
Yeah, I'm actually going to share my screen really quick because well, let me close my bank first. Hold on. I looked it up while we were talking, and yeah, it's so easy. Can you see that, Mary Sue?
Yep. Well, you have to click back onto the media thread.
All right. Can't believe this. On my own live, I can't do this. Share screen. Chrome tab. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I did. I'm going to go back because I did what Mary Sue said. Can you see the main screen?
Yep.
So I type in Clio. Come on, CLIO. And there's Clio, 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. So I click.
Yeah, and you can see there's 242 reviews, so it's got good information.
And I clicked on legal case management, and then you scroll down, and these are the other ones. There's a company called Smokeball. There's My Case, Abacus Law. I've heard of some of these. So yeah, what Mary Sue is saying is
now. Why don't you see the little box on the bottom where it says compare? So if you click like compare Clio to Smokeball, I didn't seem to pick up your Clio one. Yeah, now compare. This is also a great feature. So what this is showing you is, what market segment. So let's say Smokeball was better for large practices or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then scroll down a little bit more. Usually there's a feature list. This one's not showing the feature comparison. Oh, here, wait. So these are some, yeah. So it's got the features. It's now showing you, based on reviews, where people are ranking these two tools. So again, it gives you a little bit more information, what people say they like better than the other tools. As well as what the features are, because some tools may be in the same category, but it may not actually be a comparable one to other tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, this is incredibly helpful. I'm so glad you told me about this.
Yeah.
So this is for software. This website is for software specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they've expanded, but yeah, I would, and then go back one screen and scroll up to the top. Click on the view grid. This is what I love, this view grid. So this is showing you just, on that 4 square, what are the other tools and where are they ranking in comparison to each other?
Huh.
And on that left side, you can actually limit it to small business, so you're not seeing what like a larger law practice would actually use.
Oh, Clio's towards the top.
Yeah. So, this is always where I go. It's a great place to educate yourself on what's available and how they compare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that was incredibly useful. I'm going to put this in the comments, g2.com, and the company was called?
G2 Crowd. It's kind of like a crowdsourced review site, or it is a crowdsourced review site.
It's not letting me post it for some reason. Oh, well, I'll post it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I talk to Mary Sue, I learn something so incredibly helpful. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I talk to you 6 years ago? Or why don't I listen to the things you say every time?
Because you're busy.
That's the problem, though. Like, we're so busy, but there are ways that, and not everything's going to work for everybody, but there are things we can do to organize it. Because if you get to a point where you're so busy, you don't have time, or, you just get overwhelmed with all the options.
Right.
It's stressful.
Exactly. So this has been a lot of fun, Jean. I hope people found it super helpful.
Oh, well, I'm sure they did. I definitely did. Is there anything else you want to leave us with before we go?
Well, yes, if you're interested in learning more, please visit my website, worksmarterdigital.com. I do try to put on regular educational events because my mission is to really help micro and solopreneurs, micro business owners, solopreneurs to maximize the use of their digital tools so that they are more successful. I have found lots of business owners that pay for a bunch of stuff and barely use them.
Mm-hmm.
And they really can help you in your business. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mary Sue, thank you so much for taking the time to come on today. This has been really helpful, and I think anybody starting a business has learned, and even people who've been in business for several years, like me, have learned a lot. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Have a good weekend.